Thank you to Senator Warren, and thank you to Senator Durbin. I'll just say it, wow. It's a great but very tough act to follow. But I'm going to tell you why I'm bullish about ELPC's environmental leadership, sustainability solutions, and results in these challenging times. No one ever promised it would be easy. It isn't. But as David Wilhelm said, we're getting important things done, and we wouldn't do it any other way. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our board and staff, and to our friends. You support our 24/7 work to accelerate clean energy and transportation solutions, to deal with climate change problems and solutions, and you support our legal advocacy to protect the Midwest special places like the Medeawa National Tallgrass Prairie, a very special place. Tonight I'll be talking about competition and regulation. I'll be talking about how more competition is transforming electricity markets in ways that it can be cleaner and less expensive, but how hands-off, laissez-faire regulation jeopardizes public health and the environment. Simply put, laissez-faire does not work when it comes to protecting clean water and clean air. These are the best of times and some of the most challenging times. For people who know me, I'm a positive guy. I'm going to start on the bright side. 186 nations came together in Paris. They hammered out a climate solutions roadmap that's based on sound science and boosted by new clean energy funding. That is progress. Wind power had a record-breaking year in 2015, passing the 60 gigawatt mark globally. That's huge. Solar energy had its biggest development year ever in 2015 and is posed to double again installations in the United States this year, 2016. It's rocking. On the other hand, big coal is shrinking. More than 40% of the coal mine capacity in this country is now in bankruptcy court. 40%. The coal companies bet that coal demand and coal prices would go up, but that's not what happened. Smart energy efficiency is reducing demand while saving businesses and people money. Natural gas is growing and wind power are growing. They're outcompeting coal in the power markets. That's a remarkable shift in power. Let's try some challenges. The bankrupt Peabody Energy is sticking taxpayers with more than $1 billion for its mine reclamation and environmental cleanup costs. ELPC is leading the charge, challenging Peabody both in the court of law and in the court of public opinion. It's time for no more taxpayer subsidies for coal. It's enough. There's a tragic question that people are asking today that we never should have to have been asking. Think about it. A year ago, would any of the 600 people in this room have asked the question, is our tap water safe to drink? That should never be a question. We live on the shores of the Great Lakes. 22% of the world's freshwater supply, the largest freshwater body in the world, and as we painfully know, Flint, Michigan, Sebring and Toledo, Ohio, Des Moines, Iowa, Galesburg, Illinois, and I could go on a bit, are all dealing with contaminated water. That is not acceptable in a modern American society. Some politicians have hammered EPA to back off and keep their hands off. That's tone deaf to the real-world consequences of unsafe drinking water. I know I'm going to sound like Senator Warren here a bit, but I'll just take it a little bit differently. We need fair regulators, not scared regulators. We need smart, sensible solutions, not more right-wing rhetoric. We need public officials to do their jobs, protecting clean air and safe drinking water for everybody. Let me turn for a second to where competition does work. Because at the Environmental Law and Policy Center, we're pro-technology, pro-innovation, and pro-competition in the places it works. So let's talk about the electricity sector. Competition is transforming the electricity sector. ELPC is leading the charge for a cleaner, greener, and smarter electricity system in the Midwest. Smart policies drive energy markets. They spur clean energy technological innovations that can change the world through better energy access, more affordability, more reliable and cleaner energy. And the new clean energy technologies that are developed here in the United States can be shared with developing countries to help solve our global climate change problems. Keep in mind, when it comes to climate change, it doesn't matter whether the carbon dioxide comes from Indiana or India or Indonesia. It has the same effect on the atmosphere, and we need to be smart about global solutions to a global problem. Solar energy combined with battery storage, more wind power, advanced energy efficiency technologies, these are game changers. You've all heard me say it before, and David Wilhelm and I were talking about this earlier. These are disruptive technologies that will transform the electricity system, just as wireless technologies have transformed telecommunications, changing the way that all of us live and work and play. We're looking at a brave new world. 2 weeks ago, Indiana and Michigan utilities announced that they are shutting down 2,000 megawatts of old, highly polluting coal plants. At the very same time, same week, a day apart, Mid-American Energy in Iowa announced it was building 2,000 megawatts of new wind power in Iowa. That's a transformation of the energy market in action. There's a quiet revolution going on in new energy efficiency technologies, and energy efficiency is the best, the fastest, the cheapest solution to our climate change problems, and it's making a real difference. Let me sound a little bit like Marketplace here by the numbers. Bear with me. Commonwealth Edison's electricity sales declined by 1.5% over the past year. That continues a trend that's been going on for a while. While electricity use went down 1.5%, the Chicago regional economy grew by 3%. So what does that mean? Our economy is growing, but we're growing more efficiently. That saves businesses money. That saves people at homes money on their utility bills. It keeps money in our economy because we don't produce, here in northern Illinois, uranium, coal, natural gas, or other fuels, so it keeps our money here and it avoids pollution. In fact, Illinois is now already 40% of the way to complying with its Clean Power Plan requirements for 2030. We are making progress through innovation, but we're doing it quietly. So here's what ELPC does on this. First of all, we work to harness the powers of technological innovation. Look at what's happening with energy efficiency, battery storage, solar energy, and wind power. We work to help open up the 100-year-old utility monopolies to competition. Let the cleaner distributed energy resources compete. Let's lower regulatory barriers. Let's not let there be lots of barriers, just as there were initially for cell phones coming in. Let's stop those regulatory barriers to new, better electricity products coming into the market. Let's nudge. Let's incentivize capital investments to accelerate modern clean energy development. That's much smarter than forcing consumers to pay more subsidies for old coal and old nuclear technologies. So what do we have here from a leading environmental group? We have a pro-technology, pro-innovation, pro-competition policy agenda for the electricity market of the future. This is a policy agenda, pro-technology, pro-competition, that should be embraced by both Republicans and Democrats. And the Midwest should be a global leader accelerating clean energy development that is good for business, good for job creation, and good for the environment. We can do all three together. That's what we're about. Okay, but markets don't solve all problems. We do need tough but fair regulation to protect clean water and clean air. Laissez-faire just doesn't work when it comes to clean water and clean air. So let's focus on the underlying causes of Toledo's, Flint's, and other cities' contaminated drinking water. Let's look, as Senator Warren was suggesting, at some of the politics and policies. First, the overheated bashing of the environmental protection agencies, the endless partisan attacks on the Clean Water Act and other environmental and public health protection laws elevate political ideology over common sense. The sad, real consequence is contaminated drinking water for too many people. That's just not acceptable. The public strongly supports fair and vigorous, smart enforcement of clean air and clean water standards. It's become very clear that the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, among others, didn't do what tough but fair regulators should have done in Michigan. Safe drinking water in Flint and everywhere else is a basic human right. It's not an ideological debating point. This is about people's health. It's not about political philosophy. And it's time for our policymakers to move away from lobbyist rhetoric that's aimed at strangling common sense regulation designed to provide for safe drinking water. Whoever thought that we'd be talking here about we need regulation to protect safe drinking water when Lake Michigan is right over there and it's a huge source of fresh water? We can do better. Okay, secondly, we all know prevention is almost always cheaper than treating the disease. Flint officials switched water supplies to save a relatively small amount of money, and that's been dwarfed by the hundreds of millions of dollars that must be spent now to clean up and repair the resulting damage to people's health, homes, and property. Third, ELPC has a wonderful Science Advisory Council. Some of the members are here tonight, and they're going to love what I'm going to say next. Science and facts do matter. Look what happened in Michigan, which has to be about the worst example of killing the messenger, as the Michigan State Agency personnel repeatedly sought to discredit the scientists who identified lead contamination in the Flint drinking water. It seems to be sport among some to discredit scientists when facts get in the way of political goals. It's not a belief, as my friend Newton Nadelhofer says, that carbon pollution causes climate change. It's a scientific fact. The Michigan agency suppressed and discredited what the scientists told them. The lessons are painful. Now the Michigan Attorney General is choosing to ignore the facts of mercury pollution. The Michigan Attorney General, Bill Schuette, is leading the charge in federal court to stop or stall the federal government's mercury and air toxic standards. We've called him out on this. Hasn't he learned the lessons of Flint that you need to protect water, children's health, and safe and clean drinking water for everyone? It's astonishing. Okay. Let me move to wrap up. Lead-contaminated drinking water, toxic algae blooms that poison drinking water in Toledo, these must not become the new normal. Flint and Toledo have reinforced that government matters. And in a democracy, elections matter too. Democrats and Republicans might have different approaches on how to best solve environmental policy issues and environmental problems, just as they do on health care and tax policy. But it's troubling that none of the leading Republican candidates for president have expressed any views at all on what should be done for climate change solutions. Hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, droughts are not partisan. They harm all people. These are challenging times, but as I said at the outset, we didn't expect this to be easy. Regardless of who wins in November, ELPC will keep advocating and succeeding in advancing forward-looking policies that harness innovation, that create jobs, that grow the clean energy economy, with many of the businesses that are here tonight supporting us, and protect clean air and clean water for everybody. Thank you for supporting our successes. And thank you for what everybody here is going to keep doing to make a real difference in the world. Thank you for joining us.